Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of the Christie Taylor Show. Super happy to be able to bring you an amazing artist that's making waves internationally. And let me tell you, this gentleman is someone you're going to want to get to know. International Nova. He hails from the Bronx, New York, makes home right now in the ATL. And from a very early age, it was apparent that Nova was different. Now, his personality has always commanded everyone's attention since birth. Nova has always been drawn to music with his attention glued to hip hop, R&B, and various types of Latin beats. Now, we're going to fast forward, get all up in his business on today. Welcome to a special edition of the Christie Taylor Show, International Nova.
Hey, Mr. Taylor, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. You know something? I think you're going to be my first Latin guest.
Hey,
Well, of course, you're in Atlanta. You're in Atlanta, so you're still in the dirty South. You're still in the dirty. But I think you're the first person who has been a Latin musician. I think everyone else, of course, you're hip hop, but I think everybody else has had some other. I've talked to people in Toronto, Canada, got those guys up there. But yeah, if I'm wrong,
I'm glad to be the first Latin artist to pop the Christie Taylor Show. Latin cherry, I guess you want to call it.
Yes, hip hop Latin. Yeah, hip hop Latin. Let me be correct. It was hip hop Latin. Yes, you're the first one. So I appreciate you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I feel like we're going to have an amazing conversation. I love this setup, so I feel like we're going to have.
Thank you. And let me tell you something. You already got a lot of love in the chat already. Everybody, hey, Sandra Hill Wilson. We got. Let's go. Jessica, I had a chance to interview Jessica and Rob the other day. Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, I love Jessica. I love Rob. Super dope.
Super dope. Now, first of all, how's your Saturday? Before we get into all your business, because I'm going to get real nosy.
Saturday's been going good. I'm actually in the midst of renovating my home. I'm renovating my studio. We're in my studio now. So it's been a busy Saturday, but it's been a blessed Saturday. I feel like anytime that we wake up and anytime that we're in a good space mentally, physically, it's a blessing. So it's been a good Saturday.
Amen to that. Now, of course, for this special edition of the Christie Taylor Show, we want to get to know you and also discuss your new single, Dale. Did I say that right? Dale. Okay. Forgive that Tennessee drawl, right?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Listen, I'm your first Latin guest. We're going to get the Latin
hip hop guest. Exactly. So tell me a little bit about your background and where you're from.
So I'm actually born and raised in the Bronx, New York. I'm definitely a Bronx kid, but I'm also from Latin descent. I'm Dominican. My parents migrated from the Dominican Republic to the States, and came to New York City, found a home in the Bronx, went ahead and, of course, had me.
Somewhere in there,
right? Somewhere in there, they found a home and had me. And, the Bronx has been, I always give credit to the Bronx for who I am, because I learned a lot. I think the Bronx, New York in general, is one of those places that can either bred you to be a real strong individual or kind of chew you up and spit you out. And I think for me, it really bred me and really birthed this I don't know, this character in me that I have like a never give up type of mentality. And I think it comes from New York, it comes from the Bronx. And I tell people all the time, no matter where I'm at in the world, I'm a Bronx kid to the end.
Wow. Of course, I would love to know what led you from New York to Atlanta. I guess we'll get into that along with the storyline.
That's actually a really good story, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So musically, did you grow up, singing in choirs or groups, or how did you fall in love with music?
Wow. So I didn't start doing the choir stuff, right, till like late in my teens. But I really fell in love with music. I tell people all the time, growing up in the Bronx and New York, you're always around hip hop. Right. The Bronx is where hip hop was birthed, where it came from. I was very lucky that, especially in my late teen years, I moved to a part of the Bronx that was literally the next door to where hip hop was birthed.
Wow.
So I was around the Cool Hercs, the Jazzy J's, Grand Wizard Theodores, Africa Bambaataa, all those type of people as a young kid, and not knowing who I was around, of course, at the time. And then it
Mhm.
wasn't until I heard Tupac's "Me Against the World" album that I became and fell in love with hip hop. And of course, now being Dominican and growing up in a Latin household, I would wake up to my mom playing Celia Cruz and all these different type of artists, and cleaning to those different type of records. So that was always in the back of my mind, and the back of who I am,
Mhm.
as a Latin person. But hip hop really is what just kind of gave me that love for music as a fan first, and
Wow.
later on I became International Nova. But as a fan first, it definitely started with Tupac's "Me Against the World."
Tupac, Me Against the World. Yeah, that was a whew, that was a great album. Great album indeed.
Amazing album, yeah.
Yeah. So International Nova, because you're first just a fan of the music.
Yes.
So when did you start? Okay? Because I had the joy of talking to Jessica and Rob, who are of course the founders of the progression of hip hop, and they
Yeah.
talked about
Super dope
different.
show, by the way.
Yes, okay, and yes, and it is. It's an amazing show and a great movement that they're creating in KC.
Yes.
But they explained to me that they're the different pillars of hip hop. So, were you the dancer? Were you more into the fashion? Were you a graffiti artist, or were you straight from the DJ or MC motion of it?
Straight from the D. I think first and foremost, yeah, there's definitely five different pillars of hip hop, right? Growing up in the Bronx, I kind of witnessed each and every single one, especially the breakdancing. You know what I mean? The crazy shout out to Crazy Legs and those guys. But for me, it was the MC. It was the music of it all, the voice. I think that one of the biggest things I got from Tupac and the Outlaws was being a voice, and it wasn't necessarily what you say, but how you say it. And I think that's one of the things that 25, 26 years later, now that Tupac's been gone, why his music lives on. And that's one of the things that I'm chasing as an artist, is to be able to have that same type of voice where it sticks in people's minds. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't have to say a million words in one line, or rhyme super fast and rhyme super crazy, but you have to rhyme in a way or sing in a way that the listener can relate and will stay stuck in the listener's ears. And for me, hip hop, Tupac started that.
Yeah,
And then later on, of course, I gravitated more to Latin music, more to Afrobeat, more to all types of Caribbean music. But I think it all comes down and it boils down to that voice that people can relate to. I feel like that's what music is relating to what's being said, no matter what the genre is.
right.
That's the true strength of music for me.
I had a question. You brought up that your parents moved from the Dominican Republic to the Bronx.
Yeah.
Are you the only child? Do you have other siblings?
No, I have two sisters. You
Okay.
know, we came from growing up. I came from a blended family, so I had
Okay.
two stepsisters, a stepbrother. Um, I'm the oldest though, of course, so I'm like the big papa bear to my sisters as well. You
Okay.
know, we grew up with a single mom, so that taught me strength, that taught me perseverance, and kind of that never give up attitude that I kind of spoke about earlier. But
Hmm.
yeah, being Latin, I think one of the strengths of our culture is family. And
Okay.
that's something that for me is always kind of stuck in the front of my head and even in the back of my brain, is family first, family last, you know,
Hmm.
and that's something that's always kind of ingrained in me. So as I kind of started my music career and became bigger and started, achieving things, it was always with the intent to provide for my family and help my family.
Wow, I love that concept of family first, family last. I've heard in Italian that family over everything. I think it's mi
Yes.
familia, something like that. Family over everything. So I love the way that you spoke to that. Now, when it came to, of course, you've already spoken to how New York and has in your Latin culture influenced you musically.
Yeah.
So how did you develop your international Nova persona?
Oh man. So it's funny. I'll say this. It's really funny. At the time that I started dabbling into being an artist, I started a group called Street Corner with me and my college roommate at the time, and one of my friends that I was best friends with for about 10 years at the time. And we kind of got lucky. Like our first 3 or 4 records that we literally recorded in our dorm room bathroom blew
Wow.
up.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Great
just blew up
acoustics, but
overseas.
hey, but bathrooms have the best acoustics.
Listen, they definitely do, and it's funny. I don't think I've actually told this story before in an interview, but we had. I'm such a makeshift guy, that we needed a booth, so we ended up stealing, borrowing a closet from one of the dorms that wasn't being used, where we had a dorm building at, and we made a makeshift booth out of it. With our carpet over the top of it. We had went to McDonald's one day and got the large soda cups, cut a hole in the middle of the cup, and that became what held the microphone in place. Um,
Whoa.
had a stocking cap that became the pop filter, and that's how we recorded our first, half our first project really. And we were just lucky that the records, as we kind of started releasing them through YouTube, blew up overseas in Germany and the Netherlands and Switzerland. And before we knew it, our first 3 or 4 records were charting on those European charts. And when it came down to trying to realize what I wanted my artist name to be, I always went with Nova because Nova's my real name, it's my last name.
Okay.
But at the time, there was a lot of different artists that had the name Nova. So I was like, wow, what's going to make me different, right? How do I stick out? And one day we were just going through different names, different ideas in our dorm. And shout out to my brother, Tony Sunshine, who had came to the dorm that night. And he's like, well, why not international? And I was like, huh? And he's like, well, you're killing it overseas. You're popping overseas. How about international Nova? And I was like,
Wow.
I don't like it. And I was actually doing an interview, and at the station, they were like, okay, so what do you guys, before we went on air, what do you guys want to go by? And I had no idea what to call myself. So I'm like, yeah, International Nova. What the heck? And
And it's stuck.
it's stuck. And I've been International Nova ever since.
Wow. Well, shout out to Tony. You said Tony Sunshine.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Tony Sunshine.
Yeah. International Nova. I like that. So, do you add a certain persona or character to International Nova that is separate from just Nova?
Yes and no. I think that
Mhm.
I've kind of got to the point now where I understand the business of
Mhm.
music,
Mhm.
right? And I think that
Right.
for a lot of artists, that's the hardest thing is separating music from the music business.
Right.
And I think I've been able to kind of get to a point now where I can turn it on and off like a switch. One of the things about me is that I'm very authentic to who I am as a person, whether I'm in an international Nova mode or I'm just being Nova. But I do understand the business behind the persona and the character and who International Nova is. So
Mhm.
I think I'm in a place where I can kind of, I can dabble between the two, but still be true to myself and be authentic to myself. And I think, to be honest, that's what's, for me at least, I think that's what my audience, my fan base, my supporters really love about me is that I'm nobody but myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be Ozuna. I'm not trying to be Daddy Yankee. Those
Right.
guys are amazing at what they do. I'm
Mhm.
just trying to be me and be International Nova, and I'm that 24/7.
I'm glad you brought them up because I'm always curious because you're from New York, as you say, just walking distance to where hip hop was born. Then you moved to Atlanta, which of course, come on now. Even though I'm in Memphis, so we always hate on Atlanta. Even though, well, there's a love hate relationship. You know how it is between Memphis and Atlanta. But so many people from Memphis go to Atlanta and blow up. Of course, like Jazzy Faye and so many others.
Yeah, shout out to Jazzy.
So, um, with you doing hip hop, having that New York influence and having that Atlanta, dirty South, East Coast flavor.
Uh,
How do you merge your Latin cultural influences into the music?
it's funny. When I moved to Atlanta, or when I made the decision to move to Atlanta, let me say that,
Matter of fact, what made you move to Atlanta?
chasing my dream. You
Okay,
know, um, the funny thing is, I had never been to Atlanta before.
you just
Um,
picked up and left.
when I moved to Atlanta, it was my
Wow.
first time ever in Atlanta, and
Wow.
at the time, I just kind of felt like I kind of hit a glass ceiling in New York. I won every single showcase. I performed everywhere. I was getting a lot of love from the people. I had built a really good name in New York, but I kind of felt like I was stuck. I felt like I couldn't grow anymore beyond that. And I had just signed my deal at the time with Spectra Records, and I
Okay.
had just got my advance, my contract, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to move to Atlanta. I don't know what it was. I think I saw a commercial, maybe something on TV, and it was talking about Atlanta, the music scene, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's where I got to go. And I remember I called Tony. I called God bless the dead Hussein Fatal from the Outlaws, Tupac's
Oh
group. At
wow.
the time. He and I had worked together on my first album, and
Mm-hmm.
we had developed like a big brother little brother relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, the Outlaws were living in Atlanta.
Wow.
So I called Fatal and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about making this move. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, man, do it. Like this is where you need to be. And matter of fact, he said, matter of fact, once you get to Atlanta, call me. I get off a tour in 2 weeks, and we'll go ahead and record a album together because we
Wow.
had made a couple of records and we just sounded great. It was good chemistry, and he was always my favorite Outlaw, which was crazy. Um, growing up and as a huge Tupac fan, a huge Outlaw fan, I had
Mm-hmm.
signed my deal with Spectra, and I had a little budget, and I hit him up on Twitter, just being a fan, and say, hey, so I just signed my deal. I got a budget. How much would you charge me to jump on a song? And he's like, nah, I'm a fan of you. Send me some music. Let's work. And
Wow.
so of course my jaw was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Sent him 4 or 5 songs, hoping that he would like one of them. And a week later, he sent me 4 or 5 songs back with every single
Wow.
verse done. And he's like, I don't want no money. Like let's just keep working. And we had developed a really good relationship. I
Mhm.
worked on his album. And we were talking about doing this joint album together. So he's like, look, I come back from, I want to say Switzerland. I come back from Switzerland in 2 weeks. Once you get to Atlanta, just call me, and we'll go ahead and get in the studio and start working. I moved to Atlanta literally a week later after having that conversation.
Mm.
Picked up, moved, literally just picked up, moved, found the house online, moved to Atlanta, and I was super excited. I had met Bone Crusher like a day later when I
Oh
moved,
wow.
and one of the things that Bone had told me, I went to an interview that I had to do, and at
Mm.
the time, I met Bone Crusher, and he was like, "Look, dude, be you, don't change." And at the time, I didn't understand what he meant by that, but he was like, don't come to Atlanta and try to be an Atlanta artist. Be
Mm.
you. You're different. You look different. It's gonna
Mm.
work.
That's great wisdom.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, cool. Not thinking much of it. And then a week later or so, Fatal had hit me. He's like, "Hey, I'm about to be in town. Let's work." I think a day or two later, unfortunately, he had gone to a car accident and passed away.
Right. Right.
And so we never got to finish the album. We never got to do none of that stuff. But I kind of had it inside of me where I wanted to,
Mm.
fulfill some of those conversations that we had as far as, coming to Atlanta and really kind of making a dent in the Atlanta music scene. And, from then on, through the help of Bone Crusher and other people, I was able to work and be, you know, I moved to Atlanta, never been to Atlanta,
Mm.
right? A week after I moved to Atlanta, I'm in the studio with people like Usher, Young Jeezy, Bone Crusher. He and I did a record together.
Wow.
P. Pablo, all these different people that I had met, largely in part to Bone Crusher in the beginning. And then
Mm-hmm.
as I met these people, Ti and everybody else,
Mm.
they would always tell me, "Be you, just
Be
stay
you.
be you. It's gonna work for you. Trust me." And
Mm.
again, at the time, I didn't understand it. But as time kind of went on, I realized I know what they meant now.
Yeah.
Remember one of the things that Ti and Bone had told me was, we normally don't rock with New Yorkers, but we rock with you. We love you. We got a lot of love for you. Keep being you. And as time went on, as I kept kind of being in the National Nova and trying to find my lane in Atlanta, it finally clicked what they meant to me. And the fact that I'm from New York, the fact that I'm,
Mm-hmm.
this Latin kid with long hair, braids, I have a different type of sound, my voice is different. I never wanted to be anything else but me.
Right.
And I've been put in a very blessed position that people love me for me being me. It's never been about money, even in the industry. It's never been about money. I've
Mm-hmm.
never, thank God, had to pay for a feature.
Oh
Everybody
wow.
that I work with in this industry has been off of love and respect, and I
Wow.
would rather have that than to
Yeah.
have money in it. So I just been lucky. I've been lucky. I've been blessed.
You have been no. Wow. I'm just blown away by, first of all, just the sequence of events and your stepping out when you did, making that call when you did,
Yeah.
and to know that your industry big brother who was like co-sign and then not being able to forge that and still pick up other people who like just really have been supportive, because we know the game, we understand how the industry works. So when you have an opportunity to be yourself, have your style, have and have that appreciated, that's a blessing, really it is. And you named one of my favorites. Now
Who's
I
that?
like Usher, I like Petey Pablo.
Oh, that's
I love his, and it's
I'm gonna
so
tell
weird
you.
because he's such a
I'm gonna tell you
edgy.
a story about Petey Pablo. First
Oh,
of all,
please do.
I
Please
love
do.
I love Petey. First of all, one of
Is
the
he
most
really like is he comes across as like such a fun but no nonsense
he,
guy.
he is hilarious.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
first
he
of all,
seems like he is.
one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he
Genuine,
looks like he is.
genuine from head to toe. So I remember, okay, so I remember one of the first times that he had came to. So I got my home studio. Everybody in Atlanta loves music, Soul Child to PD,
Wow.
to people, right?
Well,
And
hold on one second. I gotta let me before we get to. So once you got down there and started working with them, you built your own world. You built your
yeah,
own where they come to you. Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So one of the
Yeah.
first things
Okay.
that I did when I bought my house was I
Yeah.
converted
That was
my
smart.
I went. Well, so I've always had a home studio, even in New York,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
In New York, everybody would come to my studio, from MOP to the Lost Boys to Royal Flush to different members of Terror Squad. I've always had my own home studio. I've been very self contained.
Okay.
One of the things about, I'm a Virgo. I hate waiting on people. I hate, I don't have patience. When I need something now, I need it now. So I've always had a home studio. And when I came to Atlanta and I bought my house, the first thing I did was build a home studio. And through relationships, through friendships, and people just learning me as an artist, as a
Mhm.
musician, I was able to build some really strong friendships in Atlanta with some of the biggest people in Atlanta, and they would just love to come here and record. You know, I tell people all the time, like one of the funniest things is Music Soul Child, for an example. One of Bone Crusher's best friends. First time he came to my studio, we spent the whole night watching cartoons.
I can believe that.
And because music is such a fun person,
Yeah.
he actually put me on to Rick and Morty, which is not one of my favorite shows. But he's a Virgo. He's a Virgo just like me, and his birthday
Yeah.
was before mine. So we literally spent the half 6 hours maybe just watching cartoons and joking around, and then we got to the music.
Wow.
And I think for me, it's always been that type of relationship with people where
Mhm.
it's like it becomes friendship and then
Right.
it becomes business, right? We mix the business in with the friendship, but there
Mhm.
has to be some type of chemistry, some vibe. And that's really, it's always been one of my biggest strong points, is that people genuinely, for whatever reason, like me as a person. And from
That's
there,
a good
yeah,
thing. You're
but
yeah.
it's so dope because
Yeah.
they love me, they like me as a person, which then allows them to be in tune into what I'm doing. And once they get to kind of notice what I'm doing, they respect it. Because let's be honest, there's a million people trying to be artists. There's a million people trying to be producers, right?
Yes,
So
yes, and yes.
you have to find a way to stick out from the crowd.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just lucky that some of these legends, especially in Atlanta, just took to me.
Yeah.
And PD, as an example,
Petey
I met
Pablo.
I met PD through Bone Crusher,
Okay.
and at the time, Bone Crusher was doing it was like a big hip hop event for Revolt. It was like a hip hop for music forum type of thing,
Okay.
and Bonehead hit me. He's like, "Hey, come to the event." So I go to the event. It was like a VIP only. Revolt was taping, and I see PD walking around. PD had this huge red fur on, and I was like, "Oh man, that's PD Pablo." Like at the time, I haven't met PD, right? So I'm like, "Oh, that's PD." So everybody was in there, CeeLo, Ti, all these different people. And at the time, again, I had met Ti a few times because of Bone. Miss Deb was there, who is like my aunt now. But I remember going to sit on my seat, and the person that was with me was like, "That's Ti. Let's go say what's up. Like, Ti." And I was
Right.
like, "Yeah, I know him, but I don't know if he's gonna remember me, right?" And I remember Ti like literally turned around like a few seconds later and looked at me and was like, "Hey Nova, what's up?" And I'm like, oh, okay, he does remember me, right? So, but again, that was one of those things that reminded me, be you,
Be
because
you.
people remember that. People, you would stick out to people.
Mhm.
My look, my the way I talked, the way I carried myself.
Mhm.
And so anyway, PD comes up to me at the event and he's like, "You're Nova, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "Yeah, man,
What?
Bone told me about you. We're coming to the studio tonight." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I said, "Well, by the way, can I borrow that fur? Because the fur was like super dope." He just starts laughing. He's like, "Man, you got it, you got it." I was like, "Man, P Pablo's cool."
Yeah.
Flash forward to, I think it was the next day we were going. They came to the studio, but I had promised Bone. I had promised Bone that I drink a lot of soda, right? I love Pepsi, but I had promised Bone that I was gonna start drinking a lot more water. So I had went to the McDonald's drive-through, which is literally down the block from my house, and I'm at the drive-through, and Bone calls me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm at the studio waiting for you. Where you guys at?" He's like, "Oh, okay, we'll be there in 10 minutes." He's like, "Are you drinking water?" I was like, "Yeah, I got a water jug right next to me." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Turn around." I said, "What?" I turn around on the car, and the car behind me on the drive-through, literally a Hummer, is PD and Bone, and you can hear them laughing. So then we come to the studio. It was hilarious. I'm in the car rolling. I'm like, "Oh man, they just caught me." Right? So I'm in the. We get to the house, and this is PD's first time coming to my house. I got At the time I had three huge pit bulls. I'm a dog lover. I got pit bulls. Those are my favorites. They're the sweetest dogs in the world. So now the baby who's actually in the studio with me now, uh,
Mhm.
he's like 100 pounds soaking wet. So, but he loves to have fun. So as he's coming down the stairs, Petey's coming into the house. Petey sees the dog and just starts running. So now the dog, so now Bentley, my dog Bentley, thinking, okay, yeah, we're playing. He starts running around the house chasing Petey. Petey is screaming and running for his life, and my dog is just chasing him, thinking, hey, we're having fun. Petey dives into the studio, kicks the door closed, and he's like, "Man, your dog." And I was like, "He's a baby, bro. He's just a baby." And then literally, 5, 10 minutes later, Petey's outside with the dog in the yard playing.
Wow.
That just goes to show you the type of person he is, man. And
Yeah.
every time we speak, it's just like jokes on jokes and jokes. And from there, he became like a big brother to me. And I started
Mhm.
producing his album. I'm producing another secret project that he was doing at the time as well. And we went from
Mhm.
that to us doing my record Controller together and a couple other records together
Yeah.
that we haven't even released yet. But I just been very blessed. I think people genuinely just gravitate towards me, and I just try to be myself at all
Yeah.
times. And I'm one of those people. As I said, I'm a Virgo. I'm going
Yeah.
to be me, whether you like it or not. And hopefully, you do like it.
Right.
We are able to grow and to vibe.
You brought up Controller, which I understand you were actually surprised, in which featured Petey Pablo.
Yeah,
You were on Controller, which is a really great song, really nice dance song. Because some of your earlier stuff, there was a lot of different vibe, but this one seemed like it was a little, I don't know, different stylistically. But you
yes.
were surprised by its success. Why were you surprised?
Oh man, I was floored. Coming from hip hop, right,
Yeah.
and doing hip hop for a long time as a rapper, and then kind of making this huge turn into now being a Latin artist.
And let me explain to those who may be watching. Okay, so you like you said, you've been more traditional hip hop,
Yeah,
and recently you've been infusing more of your Latin culture into your music. And like you said, you brought up some of the mainstays in Latin hip hop, Bad Bunny and them, all like that. So now that you're in that vein, was it what made you first of all go to that vein, and why were you surprised again that that Controller was a hit?
so it was funny because for a long time people would always ask me to do Latin records, right?
Mhm.
But as I've stated, I'm a Virgo. You can't tell me what to do, right? So I have to naturally gravitate towards that. And for the last couple of years that I was just doing hip hop, I kind of became bored with hip hop. I
Mhm.
just felt like everything was sounding the same. People were not taking, um,
Risk musically,
yeah,
yeah,
they were not taking risks. Everything was
yeah,
just sounding the same. It worked for this guy, so I'm going to do the same type of music.
yeah.
And I just got bored with hip hop. And again, it took me back to what they told me: just be you.
Mhm.
And I really learned to trust myself as an artist
Mhm.
and trust my ideas because for a long time, I think creatives, we have a lot of self-doubt sometimes,
Yeah, we do.
right? No matter
Yeah.
how good you are, I
Yeah.
remember I heard a story that Jay-Z hates to listen to his own music.
Wow.
And it's like, that's Jay-Z. Like, how do you hate you're
Wow.
Jay-Z, dude?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the time I was bored with hip hop, my team kept pushing me, oh, you should try to do some Latin music. Like we kept meeting with the labels and they were like, hey, we love Nova. He's dope. Does he
Mhm.
do Latin too? Because at
Yeah.
the time Latin kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes. Well, yes.
Like, no, I'm not doing Latin. Like only because I didn't want to be told what to do. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I hated to be told what to do because I felt like music is about creativity. It's about the vibe that you're having at that moment in time. And it can't be something that's forced. And I felt like, okay, now you're trying to force me to do something that I'm gonna do anyway because that's who I am. But let me get there on my own time, right? And again, I just happened to be bored with hip hop, and I was like, let me start experimenting. But
Mhm.
I will say, shout out to my team, my management, because they actually tricked me. I had went to at the time, and we had to take a trip to New York, and I had produced a record. Well, me and my team produced a record for Mary J. Blige's album with Rockwaller.
Oh wow.
We had went down there to work on some stuff with Rockwaller and Eric Sermon. And what happened was at the time we had like an extra free night in New York. And I was gonna go just hang out with my family. And my manager's like, hey, come to the studio. I need you to write a record for this Latin artist. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm always writing records for other people, so
Yeah.
to me it wasn't out of the norm. I go to write the record, and I'm recording the record and I'm in the booth getting my Mark Anthony on. I'm just like, really trying to I've never sang before. I was always just a rapper. Never
Oh, I didn't know. What?
never sang.
Wow.
So we do the record, finished the record. I lost my voice. Like my voice was completely gone by the time we were done because again, I've never sang in my life. I was
Mhm.
always just a rapper. And so when I finished the song, I'm in the booth and I'm like, cool, we're done. Like I'm exhausted. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. We got to get back to the other studio at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And the producer, shout out to Gabe Acosta, who was a big Latin producer at the time, done stuff
Mhm.
for Fatman School, Pitbull. As I'm like putting my headphones off, he walks into the booth and he's like, "So can I produce your whole album?" And I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "No, this ain't for me." I was like, this is for somebody else. And he's like, "That's not what they just told me." When I go out to the listening room, I'm like, what's going on? And my manager was like, so this is for you. And I was like, and but
Oh
I
wow.
really loved how it sounded. And I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
okay, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And from there, I was home one night,
Mhm.
and again, having my own home studio was the best thing for me because I've never been a person who works on schedules. I'm all about energy and vibe. And sometimes I wake up at 3 in the morning and I'm like, hey, I got an idea. Let me go record it. And that's what Controller was. I had recorded, well, I was actually getting my hair braided at the time. And the producer, I do a lot of my own production, but I also get records outside from
Mhm.
producers. And the producer had sent me the beat. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I started mumbling words and mumbling a
Yeah.
melody. And I'm really big on melodies. So I had told the girl, I said, wait, give me a second. I had like half my hair done. I said, let me run downstairs. I just need to record this and get it out my head. That ended up being Controller.
Wow.
Fast forward a week later, a couple of days later, PD had called me. And he's like, hey, I need you to listen to this record that I had did for him. I'm like, oh, well, send me the record. He's like, well, dude, like we're doing so many records for me. Like I want to do some of your records. And I was like, I don't know. I'm doing Latin now. I don't think you want to do this. And he's like, nah, send me the record. So I sent him Controller. Well, what I had at the time that was Controller, which was like half a song at the time. And I went to go walk the dogs. And by the time I got back, 20, 25 minutes later, PD calls me on FaceTime. He's like, hey, check your email. And I was like, what's up?
No.
He's like, dude, check the email and keep me on FaceTime. And I'm like, okay. And I played in the record.
No, he did not.
It was Controller. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, okay, I think we got something here.
Wow.
And um, and that was probably, I want to say Controller was probably the third Latin song that I've ever done. The
Wow.
third song I've ever sang on. And but as soon as we did, I was like, okay, I think we got something here. And what happened was Controller was supposed to be just a teaser. At the time, I hadn't released any records in a couple years. My last song before that was "Wine for Me," which is actually Caribbean. Now that I think about it, it was a
Okay.
Caribbean song.
So you were slowly moving in that direction.
Slowly, yeah, slowly but gradually, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think, and again, that's what I love about it. It was a natural transition.
Right.
But my last song, "Wine for Me," ended up being on the Billboard charts,
Oh
and we were
wow.
top 10. Yeah, we were top 10 for the a whole month actually with that record. And
Congrats.
so before that, thank you. But before that, before Controller, that was my last record that I really released. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, let me just throw this out there. Let's see what the fans think. It's been a couple years since I've released any music. Um, why are you crying, buddy? And
Uh-uh.
I went ahead and put it out as a teaser. And before I knew it, Controller became this huge phenomenon of a record, which ended up being my biggest record to date. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And it was just kind of like
Mhm.
trying to play catch up to that record because it just took off so quick. And
Mhm.
shout out to my PR team, shout out to Leslie and Upscale.
Yeah.
They were able to kind of just take it and run with it. And it became this huge thing of interviews today, interviews tomorrow, TV
Yeah.
shows today, TV, and it just kind of kept going and going and going. That it really became a monster of a record, and we ended up.
I must say that looking at your website, yes, when you go to his website, so much press has been done in the last 24 months.
Yeah, yeah, it was
The
insane.
last year.
I never did that much press before that. I've been signed
Wow.
to majors, I've been signed to different labels, and I had never done that much press beforehand.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but that's a big. I'm really big on team and Upscale and Leslie and my management really took the ball and ran with it. And I always say this is the best team I've had in my whole career, and
Wow.
I'm really big on timing, right?
Yeah.
And people being on the right place at the right time. And
Yeah.
for me, Upscale, for me, my management, the people
Mhm.
around me, Team Nova, because I will say that we have a team.
Mhm.
This is the best team that I've assembled in my career, and Controller became what it became because of them.
Yeah.
A couple million streams
Wow.
on TV, on different things, and
Mhm.
we're able to parlay Controller into now what we're doing with Dale.
Yeah,
And
let's talk about Dale because I was finding okay. So let's talk, how did Dale come together, and how did it get connected with AMC's Covenant?
so Dale was actually recorded around the same time I did Controller.
Okay.
I
Okay.
did a batch of about 15 records in like 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
And Controller, Dale, a lot of my songs that I'm about to be releasing came out of that those three or four
You were
days.
in the zone.
Yeah, and I've always been like that, where
Yeah.
I can record a lot of songs in like 2 or 3 days, and then not record anything for like a month. Because again, I'm all about energy and vibe, and if I'm in that space, I'm gonna just run with it. But Dale was something that I recorded. I want to say maybe the same day I did Controller, maybe the day after. But
Wow.
it became this thing where again everything with me starts off with a melody and with an
Mhm.
idea. And I remember that it was like 5 in the morning. If I remember correctly, it was like about 4 or 5 in the morning. We were done, and I was like, "Hey, I got this other idea. Let me just kind of put this down." And I started laying down the chorus, and
Mm.
my manager walked in. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, we're going to bed." And I'm like, "Nah, I got this idea." And he's like, "Wait, play it. Let me hear it." And then when I played it back, he's like, "Hey, I like that. Okay, well, keep working. I'll go get the guys because I had brought the producers in. I had everybody staying in my house for like a week, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna go upstairs and get the guys. We'll come right back." And we ended up making Control on the spot. I mean, Dolly on the spot.
Wow.
And it's funny because Dolly is a completely different record than Controller.
It really is.
But I
Yeah.
feel like at the same time, it's
It's
still
consistent, it's continuity, but it's different.
exactly. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's so cool because that's who I am at this point in my career.
Right.
I'm a rapper in English or Spanish, but I'm
Yeah.
also a singer.
Yeah.
And in Controller, I sang most of the record and then
Yeah.
rapped a little bit on the record. On this record, I'm rapping most of the record and singing a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And it went on to kind of leaking out. I would perform in certain places, and people would be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, that Dale record is when is that coming?"
Right. Yeah.
And we had got hit up by shout out to Trey Ace. We got hit up
Mhm.
by Trey Ace, who's a musical supervisor for different TV shows, and he's like, "Hey,
Oh
I'm
wow.
looking for a Spanish record that has to kind of fit this vibe." And we sent him Dale. He fell in love with it,
Wow.
and it just so happened that we had got a call, and he was like, "Hey, so I got on a TV show, also on Netflix and things like that. Here's the
Hmm.
paperwork. We got the paperwork done. I'm one of those guys that at this point in my career, I want to just be the artist. So,
Right.
like my management handles the paperwork and all that. And I got invited to a red carpet event like a little while after that. I'm at the red carpet. I do the thing. It's a TV show premiere. I'm sitting in the theater, and in one of the scenes, Dale comes on, and I'm looking around. I'm like, who's playing Dale? Like, you know what I mean? Realizing it's on the screen, and I was like,
Wow.
hold on. So I grabbed my phone. I text my manager. I was like, is this the show? And he's like, wait, which show? Which premiere are you at? So I'm like, I'm at the Covenant premiere show. And then coming to find out, Trey
Mm.
was sitting a few rows in front of me, and I didn't even know he was there. So he like gets up. I guess my management texted him. He gets up and turns around. And he just starts laughing, and I was like, man. And from there,
Yeah.
it was kind of this phenomenon as well, where
Yes.
it kind of picked up right where Controller left off. And,
Wow.
and I will say thanks to the fans, it's
Mhm.
already done things that Controller didn't do. You
As a
know,
matter of fact, you just dropped it. What, 2 weeks ago?
we just dropped it on the 15th, I want to say,
Yeah.
and already it peaked at number 6 on the Apple iTunes music charts.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's
You
so
hot. You hot.
yeah, it's amazing because we've been on the charts now for a week, and
Congratulations.
to be on the
Mm.
charts as an independent artist
Yeah.
with the likes of Mark Anthony, like
Yes.
I'm positioned above Mark Anthony and Ricky Martin and Daddy Yankee and these legends who've been doing this for so long. And
Hmm.
as an indie artist right now, at this point in my career, um, at this point I'm doing it because of my fans and because I love to do it. And it's really amazing to see the response that my fans are giving me because let's be honest, like those guys have the machine behind them. They have the big budget behind them. They have that money.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they
I'm
do.
really going off of just my fan support and
And they're pushing you. They're pushing
the
you
fact
hard.
that we're up there. I
Yeah.
woke up that morning. I was number 40 or 60, something like that. When I got the
Yeah.
text, like, "Hey, you're on the charts," and by midday that day,
Wait a minute. So you entered in the top 50?
I'm top. I was top
No.
6.
I said, so you no, when you enter the chart,
Yeah, so when I entered the charts on the
you
Latin
entered it
charts,
top 50.
I
Wow.
was top 50, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. My first day
Yeah.
on the charts, first morning.
That's what
And
I'm saying.
by
That's huge.
lunchtime, yeah, by lunchtime I was like 22. And then I was like, oh,
Whoa.
pretty cool. And then by like 3 o'clock, I'm like number 6. I was like, oh, okay.
What in a what? Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Your
On a
fans are pushing
day.
you hard.
And then we've kind of been from number 6 to 10 to 8 to top 20,
Mhm.
and then we're going on a week now and we're still on the top 100,
Wow.
which is amazing. But again, it just shows how much the fans are really supporting what
Yeah.
we're doing because again, these guys are huge, huge, huge artists.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're right there
Yes.
with them. I mean, Daddy Yankee just dropped the album and he just pushed everybody back on the charts because
He was like, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. The chart is
and,
where I live.
it's
Yeah.
it's his last album.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to meet Daddy Yankee very young,
Mhm.
before he became Daddy Yankee that we know now, being
Right.
around my brother and those guys.
Mhm.
And so it's amazing to,
Yeah.
as a kid before I even thought about being an artist, being around Daddy Yankee, and now as an adult doing this as my career, to still see Daddy Yankee, the
Doing it.
legend that he is, going out the right way because this is his last album,
Uh-huh.
and he is the GOAT. The man is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time when it comes to the Latin genre and the
Wow.
reggaeton genre. So nothing but love and respect for that guy.
Wow. You know something, I'm really grateful to hear your musical journey as an artist, and the advice that you have heeded, now has you, giving your fans what they want and pushing you to the top. And to be able to be, yeah, on the charts with legends
Yeah,
is
yeah, it's
is
amazing.
beautiful.
It's
Now
amazing.
I have
I
to
would
say
think
this too.
everybody blessed.
Yeah. Now, International Over, another thing I wanted to bring out is that looking at your branding,
Uh,
which I totally love, and to see your strong sense of style, particularly on this single, the way you're pushing this latest project.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Not that you're saying, I'm not saying B-boys can't be handsome and stuff, but you giving me some Method Man, you giving me some grown man Will Smith. That was some, but it's such a strong styling. Okay, what I'm saying is go to his website and you will see what I'm saying. Just go to his website.
Yeah, we're trying so many different things, and I will say that's a really big a really big kudos to my team because
Yes.
Leslie, my management Jamal, and really the entire team, Team Nova, Mr. Leslie, who's one of my stylists, China, who's another one of my stylists, and Leslie has a really amazing vision for
Mhm.
who International Nova is right now
Yes.
and what she really feels that I can become. And it's really dope to have people on your team who really believe in you, right?
Right.
When we have those moments as creators where we don't even believe in ourselves, it's so dope to have people that genuinely want you to win.
Mhm.
And I will say that even this last shoot, at first I was like, I don't know. That's not. I'm a New Yorker. Like I'm the woman.
Man, it's so
I'm from New
slick
York. I want
though.
to be
It's
and she's like, no, trust me. And
yes. I'm
when I
glad you did.
I was like,
Shout out
man,
to Leslie.
they look amazing, right? And
I love the hat. I love the tapestry of the jacket. I love the color schemes. It was like this. It's just a perfect blend. It's just a perfect blend. Totally a perfect blend of your. It's what a lot of. Okay, I'll just like it. It looks like grown man rapper Ti. He's suiting up now. Will
yeah,
Smith been
yeah.
suiting for a while. Was
Well,
it? I mean,
I
it's
will,
just
I will say this, and sorry to cut you off.
no, no, no. You're fine. You're fine.
I'm really big on fitting into all different types of situations, right?
Yeah,
If I need to wear a suit, if I need to wear a hoodie and a sweatshirt, I
yeah,
can kind of do all those things. And being from New York is kind of like my style, right? But
yeah,
I understand the business as well.
yeah.
And right now, whether I need to be on a beach somewhere in a swimsuit with six packs and or
You say you can handle that too, right?
yeah, I mean, again, it's a business, and we have to
Yeah,
understand that the music business is the music, and the business is two different
and the
things.
business, and the business. But let me tell you something. You're getting all the love from Jessica. She was like, "Yes, agreed, agreed." So, of course, with your strong sense of style, I understand you also have launched your own Nova merch.
Yeah, yeah. For a long time, people would always ask me to, "Hey, you got any merch, any sweaters, any this, any that?" And I was like, "No," because I'm very big on staying in my lane, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
again, my team really pushed me to, hey, let's drop some merch.
Yeah.
So we came up with this. It's Nova Baby merch, which is really
Yes.
my signature on every record. I'm saying it's Nova Baby,
Okay.
and we kind of ran with it. And I was like, okay, let's see what happens. Again, it just the first week we sold out of merch in like 4 days, and it
Your
was a
fan base, you have been okay. I'll say it like this: you have meticulously done what a lot of artists don't understand that needs to be done. So now you have a fan base that will be with you forever. I mean,
yeah.
I think about people like the Gap Band. As soon as he left, I mean, when Charlie Wilson left the Gap Band,
Uncle
we
Charlie.
still come on, Uncle Charlie. There's just certain things you have to do. I mean, true enough, we are in an Insta world, Instagram, Insta, but it's nothing like this, that old school relationship building with your fans, because they will age with you. Tyler Perry is a almost a billionaire
Yeah,
because for 20 years he meticulously built his fan base, and if he drops Mud Deer anything, they
I
go,
love the Medea movies too.
oh my
I
goodness.
think it's almost like a math problem that we need to solve. Is how do we continuously evolve without
Yeah.
losing our fans? And I remember this one of the things that Sunshine had told me about a week ago, and he's like, you have found a way to continuously evolve, and he's like, I'm proud of you, like little bro, because you continuously change without losing who you are. You just find a different way to interact with your fan base. You find a
Right,
different way to stay relevant. You know what I
right.
mean? And I feel like that's the hardest thing in music because so many different fads come out every other week. It's hard to really stay consistent. Which again, now, even today, I woke up this morning and I said it like we've been on the charts now a week, and it's really because of my fan base. It's because of my supporters.
Yeah,
Are we gonna maintain that for the rest of the year? Who knows? Probably not, because at some point that machine kicks in,
yeah,
and I don't have that machine at the moment. Because it's not because I can't get the machine, but at this point in my career, it's got to be the right situation for me.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things as an artist I've learned is that you can't just jump on every situation. It has to make sense for who you are as a person. And for me and with my team, we're very big on let's find the right situation, not
Yeah.
a situation, but the right situation.
The right one, the right one. Well, with that, Nova, I love the fact that you're constantly referencing your team and that you are one of the ones who understands the power of the team and also the power of the fan base. But you also live in the reality that there is a machine that works 24/7 while we sleeping.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but understanding that your team and your fan base has put you in the room, on the chart, in the circle as an independent artist is just worthy of all the praise, salutes, and everything. So, and I know that you've worked even as a producer in different ways that keeps you industry related.
Yeah.
Heavy hitters. What are some of the who are before we wrap? Who are some of the other heavy hitters that you've had the opportunity beyond my Petey Pablo that you've worked with?
Oh man, it's funny because every time I look at the list, I forget some names. But I've worked with PD, of course, Bone Crusher Music, Hussein Fatal from the Outlaws, Terror Squad, French Montana. I've been on stages with Mario, Pitbull, NSYNC, Backstreet, Day 26. To recently working with Columbus Short on his project. We did 5 records for Columbus. We just produced a theme song for Neo, his new TV show coming out on Stars called Step Up. We're hoping that that intro becomes as big as the Power intro, but we just produced that as well. And, so many different people that I write and produce for and just do different things. I'm lucky. I just been blessed. I thank God every day because, music is such a up and down thing
Yeah, yeah,
that when you're up, you really don't know how long you're going to be up for. So you
yeah,
have to kind of take advantage of every single situation.
yeah.
I feel like I have 9 lives in this industry because, it's always a new thing popping up for me. It's always a new adventure. And, I think that as an artist, right, we have to kind of use music as a vehicle to get into
Mhm.
other things. So for me, it's
That's right.
modeling, it's acting, it's philanthropy work because I'm very big on that as well. And
I
yeah.
want to know about that. I understand that you across the country you do very nice philanthropic work. How deep do you want to go into that?
Oh
Um,
man. I'm really big on like one of my monikers is being the voice for the voiceless, and whether that's of course humans and people or animals.
yeah.
I'm the brand ambassador for Lifeline Animal Organization, which is the biggest animal organization in Georgia. I'm a real big pit bull advocate. You know what I mean? And also just being a voice for the kids who not only in the U.S. but around the world grew up like I did. Single parent homes, in the hood. You know what I mean? In low income situations, single mothers. You know what I mean? That's something that's really close to my heart because that's my mom was a single mom with me and my sisters. So for me, it's always being able to give back. Being international Nova for me means nothing if I can help and if I can give back to my community. So that's something that's really big. We're working on some school programs. We're working on hopefully,
Mhm.
God willing, building a music school in the Dominican Republic to be able
Okay.
to give kids the access to use music as an outlet. I think that's one of the things that we're missing right now is being able to have an outlet for these kids.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I know when I grew up in New York, you know, among some of the crazy things I've seen, I was able to just be a kid and be in the park all day playing basketball, playing
Yeah.
baseball.
Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays you really can't do that because, we have to worry about our kids getting shot,
Right.
these
Yeah.
different type of things going on in the hood,
Mhm.
and then these low income situations. And, I'm really big on giving that. And I'm glad that my team is aware of that. And I'm trying to find different ways to give back and put the community first. Because again, without being able to give back, then what are we doing this music for? What are we, because to be a celebrity is much more than just being on TV and being on TMZ and all these different platforms. It's about giving back and helping out those who can't help themselves.
Wow, I'm just really excited, and I see a lot of love. And thank you so much. Yeah, strong humanitarian spirit indeed. You speak about your mom in such loving ways. Before, I definitely want to know is how proud of, not is she, but how proud is your mom of the journey that you've taken?
Oh man, she's one of my biggest fans. It's funny because, I think as a typical mom, when you find out that your son wants to be a rapper, it's like, okay, And I remember in the beginning, she was kind of like, okay, that's cool, but go to school,
Yeah.
And I was, I played baseball and basketball. I went to school on a baseball
Okay.
scholarship, and basketball scholarship,
Wow.
and I got in a really bad car accident my sophomore year.
Mhm.
And I always tell people I started this journey of being an artist really late because
Mhm.
most kids start when they're like 13, 14, 12. I was 21 and I wanted to be an artist,
Wow.
because I had nothing else to do.
Mhm.
I got in a car accident, I flew out the window, hit a tree, messed up
Ooh.
my back. And,
So that ended your baseball, your sports career.
for the most part, yeah,
Mhm.
I had people around me, from Tony to Casual and different people. It's like, okay, well, focus on music. Like, you have a talent. And again, when I didn't think I could do it, they thought I could. And I was able to turn that tragedy into triumph, essentially, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be International Nova. And my mom in the beginning was like, okay, that's cool, right? But focus on school. And it wasn't until she came to one of my shows. I was lucky to always perform at the Puerto Rican Day Parade in New York, which is a huge thing in New York, and the Dominican Day Parade. And she just happened to come to one of the shows. And I think that when she saw that the crowd was singing my song word for word, and she saw how the crowd reacted to me, she's like, "Oh, well, wait a minute, this is serious." And from then on, she's been the biggest supporter. And it's funny because
Mhm.
she's super proud of me, but I'm like super proud of her because
Oh.
she told me one day that by me following my dreams,
Mhm.
it pushed her to follow hers, and she wanted to do and be in law and being in the government sector. And she started running. She ran for to be vice president, essentially, of the Dominican Republic, and was really close to winning. She had to pull out the race a couple years ago because she had to get neck surgery. But if not, she would have won. And now she works for the president. And she had called me one day and was like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Like, they offered her a job to work for the president, but it meant that she had to move back to the Dominican. And I was like, "Ma, go do it. Like, follow your dreams." And it's been about a year now, and she's been living back full time in the DR, working for the president, and she is as happy as she can be. So I'm more proud of her than she is of me, I think. But
Wow.
no, man, she's the reason why I am who I am today.
Yeah.
A single mom, man, a single mom in New York City as an immigrant. It
Yeah.
doesn't get any tougher than that, and she kills it every single day.
Wow. Someone said, shout out to Mama Nova.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I know.
Indeed. Wow. I love that. So,
My fans are her fans too, man.
speaking
Some,
of fans, how can you gain some new ones? So, if we're looking at this and we're like, I like this dude, he's cool. How can people support you and your music, Nova?
Follow me on all social media platforms, International Nova NOVA. Music platforms, of course. My music is on every single platform. Please support that, but also please, it's gonna sound corny, man, but be kind to each other. Life is
Ooh.
crazy. We're going through so many things in the world right now that, you know, give back to your communities, give back to your local animal shelters. There's so many dogs that are in these animal shelters that are in kill shelters, um,
Mm.
that if they don't have somebody to adopt them, they're gonna lose their life. So if beyond the music, please do those type of things because that also means a lot to me. And the music thing is gonna come. It's going we're gonna keep being on the charts because you guys keep supporting me, but also please support each other as well.
Wow, I think you've preached a sermon. What's your cash app? Be kind, and that's a beautiful thing.
Be kind of follow me.
Be
International.
kind and follow me. Right, right, right. Be kind and follow me. I like it.
Support Dolly, please.
Yes, I love it. But thank you so very much. Any last words before we go that you want to tell the people that
Oh
that
man.
maybe we didn't talk about?
Well, support Christy Taylor. You have an amazing
Oh,
platform. I'm really big on support, and
thank you.
anything you need from me and my team, please let me know. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Please, guys, continue to support Dale. It's becoming this big thing that I knew it would. I was hoping it would. And being on the charts and doing all these things is just a small, well, a huge factor in what we're doing. But it just goes to show that my fans are the best fans in the world.
Wow, I love it. Thank you all so much. And to those who've been just hanging out with us, I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing greater things. And I just kind of get this feeling you're going to end up on the Latin Grammys. I just
I
feel like
hope
you're.
so. It's funny. I had a dream one time too, even before I switched over to being a Latin artist. I had a dream. I was in the Latin on the Latin Grammys, accepting an award. Hopefully, it becomes true, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're on that path. You're definitely on that path. Wow. Well, thank you so very much for hanging out with me on this Saturday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And I look, hey, anytime, come through.
yes,
And if
ma'am.
I
We're
make
here.
it to the ATL, I'm gonna come to the studio and see if I can get on the microphone,
Yes, ma'am. Let's do
blow the
it.
dust off this first soprano, and see if something comes out.
Hey, let's get it. Let's get it,
All
man.
right.
Miss Chrissy, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you, and you have such a dope platform.
Thank you.
Keep doing your thing. It's amazing.
Thank you so much for being so kind. International Nova on the Christy Taylor Show, a special edition.
Alan.